Shabbat Shalom. I did not hand these out yet, but I think Cliff is going to. I got so excited with Torah explanations today that I think I took longer than I had planned to. So I'm going to kind of talk through what I'm teaching today. And we'll leave a little bit of time for discussion, but we'll leave most of our discussion to Kiddush lunch a little bit later if you want to keep learning together. Over the high holidays, we are going to focus on some of the haftarot that we read over the holidays, because I've gotten a lot of input in the past that, we read the haftarot every Shabbat, every holiday, but then we kind of brush over it, and there's some really wonderful stuff in our haftarot. And one of the haftarot that we have that we could just learn have an entire semester of a class on it, is just the first two chapters of the book of Shmuel Aleph, which is the story of Hannah and her prayer. And so over 2 days of Rosh Hashanah and over the next 2 Shabbatot that I'm talking, because next Shabbat, Phil, you're going to give our Dvar Torah, right? So I'm not going to be teaching next Shabbat, but we'll be learning a lot about Hannah the next few weeks. So I'll give a little bit of Hannah's story. Today we're just going to learn a little bit of Gemara that I think is really fun and relevant of what we can learn from Hannah's story. So I'll read you a little bit of her story, and then I'll get a few answers if you have some, and I did this last night too, of what do you think we can learn from Hannah's story, just right off the bat, the first time reading it this season. So giving some background, Hannah's husband is Elkanah, and Elkanah is also married to Penina. Penina has lots of children. The rabbis say 7, but there are lots of children running around this house, and Hannah is trying desperately to have a child and hasn't been able to yet. Every year, and Hannah and Penina are having a lot of conflict over this. Every year the family goes to Shiloh to pray and to give offerings, and Hannah won't eat or drink. She is miserable, and she's now praying. She's now kind of on her own and praying on the steps of Shiloh. So in Hannah's wretchedness over her inability to bear a child, she prayed to God, weeping all the while. And she made this vow: O God of hosts, if you will look upon the suffering of your maidservant and will remember me and not forget your maidservant, if you will grant your maidservant a child like the others have, I will dedicate it to God for all the days of its life, and no razor shall ever touch its head. As she kept on praying before God, Eli, who's the high priest, watched her mouth. Now Hannah was praying in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice could not be heard, so Eli thought that she was drunk. Eli said to her, How long will you make a drunken spectacle of yourself? Sober up. And Hannah replied, Oh no, my lord, I am a very unhappy woman. I have drunk no wine or other strong drink, but I have been pouring out my heart to God. Do not take your maidservant for a worthless woman. I have only been speaking all this time out of my great anguish and distress. Then go in peace, says Eli, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked. She answered, You are most kind to your handmaid. So the woman left, and she ate and was no longer downcast. So first glance, any thoughts of what are some things we can bring home from Hannah's story? Earl? Pray with our whole body, with everything we've got. John?
Pray out loud, even if it's only so we can hear. It's not actually silent prayer.
Yeah, so pray out loud-ish. Right? The rabbis are actually going to take her prayer and say that you have to, kind of like you said, you have to enunciate the words. You can't just think them in your heads, but they have to be quiet enough that no one else can hear them. Sid? Don't make assumptions about what you're witnessing. Dan l'chaf zchut, the rabbis say. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. We don't have to do the other side of the page because y'all are saying all of the things.
I find that there is a relationship between the story of Hannah and the book of Job. Both of them are afflicted with ills that they can't understand. It's not that they were bad people, and they're not
She is healed. Hannah, you pointed a lot of things out, but what I love about this passage is that it's not having a child that heals Hannah, that makes her eat and drink and go home again. Even though she does end up having a child, and a very important child, it's that Eli listens to her. He's the only one, he doesn't know who she is, but he's the only one in the story who listens, and that's enough for now to heal her.
Instead, open your heart, pray to God, and then she eats. Why wasn't she ovulating? Maybe when you're depressed about eating. I'm saying it's part of her healing. She actually eats and prays to God, and then she conceives. She was so depressed that she was dead. That was a very
So don't, right,
I'm not saying, medical,
Yeah.
forget the medical part. Forget the medical
yeah.
part.
But it's a cycle, that depression can be a cycle, right? That hopelessness and despair can be a cycle, right? And we'll talk about that second day of Rosh Hashanah, not with this story, but maybe I'll add that in. Yeah. No matter how many years she goes to Shiloh, she eventually has a child, right? That change is not guaranteed with prayer, but change is possible. She grasps onto that with her prayer.
God is always there, and that we have to turn to God and ask
We have the responsibility when we have those needs to cry out. Think about how many hundreds of years we were in Egypt before the Israelites cried out, and then God said, aha, okay, I'll come. Absolutely. We have to cry out for what we need. Right? And I'll
do my one I did last
Sure.
time. Because she finally felt heard, and that was so important to her.
Yeah, that, as we had just said, right, that it's what heals her, or what brings her out of at least this level of misery she was in, is just being heard by another human being. The importance of just having someone to listen. Ryan?
What if she had been drunk? And shouldn't someone still listen to her?
Oh, so you've got an argument, right? That if she had been drunk, even if she had been drunk, Eli still should have listened to her. Oh, I love that. All right. I'm going to flip over to the back side of the page and just kind of read through some repetitions of what we said and some more things that our rabbis taught. Just a portion from the Talmud Bavli from Masechet Brachot. And Eli said to her, "How long will you remain drunk?" Rabbi Elazar says, "From here we learn that one who sees in another an unseemly matter, they must reprimand them." See something and say something. It's important. Now, of course, the difficulty here is, what if you do that wrong, right? What if you think that you see something unseemly, or you think that you see something inappropriate, and then you learn, oh, I made a big mistake, right? So that's the next part. And Hannah answered and she said, "No, my master." And I'm going to skip down, right? "I have drunk neither wine nor liquor." Rabbi Elazar said, "From here, one who is suspected of something that is not true about them should inform their accuser." I think, was it Raz who had said, you have to speak up for yourself, right? When you're wronged and you know that you're in the right, it's important to speak up for yourself. And Eli answered and said, "May you go in peace." Rabbi Elazar said, "From here, one who suspects another of something they have not done must appease them. Right? If we were in the wrong, moreover, they must bless them as it is stated, and may the God of Israel grant your request." If we did speak up, which we're supposed to do, but if we did speak up and we learn that we were in the wrong, we have to take the initiative to apologize and to make it right. We learned a lot about apology over the high holidays last year, but we have to take the initiative when we do anything wrong, but especially when we accuse someone of something that they were not guilty of, which does happen in a world when we are where we are, or in a tradition where we are charged to speak up when we see something wrong. If we were wrong, we have to own it, acknowledge it, and apologize. And what better time to learn about apologizing than this season? We still have more than 10 days, 13 days, to make those apologies before the gates of repentance start closing. But don't worry, because there's lots of midrash that says that the gates of repentance don't really close until Simchat Torah, but then also that they also don't close until Hanukkah. But then, of course, we have 3 prayers for repentance per day. So you really have a lot of time. But really, we've got a lot of time together really focusing on tshuva. So if you haven't made your apologies for the year yet, here's your reminder. Right? After Shabbos tonight, go home and make some phone calls.
I wonder if there's some secret about the cure for depression here, because she gets depressed, that she gets healed from her depression before she even conceives.
I think that that's a wonderful thing to talk about with John in the library as we, but I think that's a wonderful thing to talk about, as now is the time that if you would like to learn with John, you're welcome to go with him to the library. I am looking forward to learning more with you about Chana and the Haftarot over the High Holy Days in the coming days. And Musaf will be led by Ron Blumka.